What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fresh Podcast, where we bring everything fresh in entertainment. I'm your host, Drew Brumfield. Join with me are two special guests, Mr. Nick Brake the Ninth. Nick, how are you doing?
Doing good, my friend. It's good to be back. A long
It's
hiatus.
I was about to say it's been a minute. It's been a minute. You were one of the OGs, and then for
Yeah,
making his debut appearance, Mr. Big Mike himself. Mike, how you doing?
Doing really good. I'm really excited. It should
Uh,
be fun.
Good to hear. Try not to cringe too hard at that little intro I do, but it's a staple at this point. All right. So today we are doing something a bit special. We are doing a snake draft of our top movies of 2022. So basically, the way this works, and Nick, correct me if I get this wrong, but it'll be we each are picking our top five favorite movies, but we cannot overlap. So it'll be I'll pick first, and then Mike will pick one, and then Nick will pick twice. And I realize why you just picked this order, so you could pick twice in a row. But then it'll go back around and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but once it comes back to me, that's when
you get
I
to
pick
pick twice as
twice.
well.
I pick
Yes,
twice. Okay,
indeed.
so it'll go. Okay. So honestly, with five, it won't. It won't be that long because honestly, by Mike's first turn, Nick, if we did seven picks, do you think that'd be enough for everyone? I know, like
Oh,
it probably would make this go longer, but
yeah,
you
we can
us.
do however many.
All right. Well, we might do our top seven. I might just switch that because I just realized once Mike picks, he's like halfway done with his list.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah,
So
7 works.
Yeah, that's
okay,
fun.
then yeah, we'll do that. All right. So with that little intro and game change out of the way, I will start. And honestly, I was looking at the list, and there's obvious picks for this year, but I do want to talk about one movie that kind of became my favorite movie of the year very late in the year, and that was a little horror suspense movie called The Menu, and that's going to be my first pick. Probably not like the everyone's traditional first thought when they think of like best movie. But I kind of went into this movie very blind. I watched it and I freaking loved it. I love the casting. Anna Taylor-Joy is amazing. I love the acting in it. And it was equal parts like suspenseful and like very like nerve-wracking, but also one of the funniest movies I've seen this year. Like I don't think it means to be uh like a straight comedy, but it has some like really memorable and like funny lines and some really like unique casting. Um and it's not what I thought it like going in, I thought it was gonna be like, oh, there's like a cannibal like movie, people eating each other. It's not that at all. It's this movie about like class society and your place and roles and I don't know. Something about it just really stuck with me, and I feel really bad if I missed out on picking it. So I'm going with that's got to be my number one.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a
I
high.
that's it.
You
I know.
picked
Yeah,
high.
I
That was
picked
7
high.
for me. So you probably could have gotten that in round 2.
I probably
But
could have,
I respect
but
it.
yeah,
It's a
I
good
was like,
film.
I had to pick it. I liked it too much.
Okay.
Mike,
Mike?
you've seen it. Yeah,
I
go
have
ahead.
not yet. I was gonna watch it this week because it's on HBO Max now, but I didn't get to.
Oh
So
yeah, it is. I need to rewatch it, but it's a good
yeah.
film. All right, Mike, it's your pick.
All right. Um, for mine, I'm gonna take a movie that I did not think was even gonna come close to my top five, and it actually got number one on my list for the year. I'll take The Fablemans, which
Ooh.
I was not expecting it to be even as close to be I was not expecting it to be as good as it actually wound up being for me. I liked it more than Top Gun, which was kind of surprising because I really like Top Gun. But I thought this was definitely the best movie of the year, and I really enjoyed it way more than I was
Mm.
expecting to. So
But
yeah, I'm gonna
yeah,
take that with my first pick.
uh, that's definitely one that slipped under my radar. I didn't actually. I'll admit I didn't end up seeing that one, so I'll have to check that one. The Fablemans. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All
it's
right.
really
Oh,
good.
Yeah. Mister
yeah.
Mister Break.
you kind of took that one from me because that was going to be my second pick.
Hmm.
My favorite movie of the year, uh, by the Daniels, was Everything Everywhere All at Once, and to me, it was very close between that and The Fablemans. But this one, it just felt like the entire originality of it and kind of the ability of it was so spectacular. Um, I think there were, excuse me, I think there were a number of Oscar-winning performances, and I also think this is a dark horse for Best Picture. But the person I'm going to talk about in this movie that I loved so much is the main character, Evelyn, played by Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh, I always forget.
I
Mike,
think it's
how do you say
Yo.
it? Yo,
I think
okay, thank
yeah,
you.
you said it right the second time.
Yeah, I got eventually. But this also, has a lot of just really good messages about, is life worth living? Does it mean something, or are we just specks of dust? It also,
Hmm.
was a really unexpected box office hit. Is the highest grossing A24 film of all time, beating Uncut Gems, which was a hard beat considering the ensemble in that movie with Adam Sandler,
Yeah,
The Weeknd, Kevin Garnett. But yeah, this
forgot the
was a
weekends in it.
spectacular movie. Yeah, this is certainly not
Yeah.
like the average number one for me. I think this was a slightly weaker year and for film than years past, especially like 2019 and before
Yeah.
pandemic times. But it was still a really strong movie, and I recommend anyone watching who hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
Um, I saw that with Mike in the theater, by the way. Wasn't super blown
Uh,
away my first viewing. Second time around is when it really,
yeah.
really
Yeah.
blew off the screen for me.
My score has progressively gone up for that movie since I've
Hmm.
seen it because I've rewatched.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
It's definitely especially with so many like superhero like films or a lot of like different films are taking this like multiverse or like multiple
Mhm.
like you idea like person. This definitely takes it in like a new and
Oh
unique
yeah.
direction and like
Oh
makes
it.
it unique. Yeah.
Oh, well, once you see this, you're gonna watch like the Marvel multiverse movies, and you're just gonna think they're stupid because they don't even embody what a multiverse means. Every
Yeah.
decision you make impacts, your life. And that's what this movie's about, and not just flying through multiverses like Doctor Strange
Yeah.
did. And yeah, but I digress because
Oh,
that's a whole other loophole for me. You will not
yeah.
see any Avengers movies on my list today.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Um,
All right.
but I guess I'll go to
But
my
yeah,
number two.
yeah, you got it. You got a second one.
You know what, guys? I've got two movies that I want to say here. These are more
Hmm.
like, famous, more mainstream films. I'm
Yeah.
between them, but I'm just gonna go off of a list, and I'm gonna go with everybody's darling for the year. I'm gonna say Top Gun Maverick. I didn't think it'd fall to me, um, but you know what? This was a shockingly good movie. I think I don't remember what I was doing, but I checked my phone. It
Hmm.
was coming out that weekend. Um, and I saw that it had like a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I think I had to look at that twice because the first one, I did not like the original Top Gun. I know that's kind of a hot take. But man, I just, I
Yeah.
couldn't believe how good this was. The performances were, they were good. They weren't great. I would be shocked if we could see Tom Cruise in a best or an acting award at the Oscars. I don't think his performance was that good, but it's the overall ambiance, the cinematography,
Hmm.
all of the cool parts about the movie, the sound, the visuals, the music
Mhm.
was terrific. Um, and it was just kind of one of those movies that was a crowd pleaser and really a fun watch in the
Yeah.
theater. It didn't quite hit me as hard when I watched it on TV or like on my a streaming device on my TV, but seeing it twice in the theater, those were really cool
Yeah.
experiences.
I
This
saw it twice
was
in the theater too, and I thought
yeah.
it was definitely it's a movie you need to watch in the theater for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't hit as hard and as well outside of the theater, but still, it's very good.
It's very interesting because that movie, like, it was supposed to come out like what, like 2 summers before, or like I think like a year before, but because of COVID and just everything, it just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And I remember before it came out, I think I was the one that said like, I don't think this is going to be a good movie. I think this is going to be terrible. Like before, and I was so wrong. when I went to see it because I went in
Mhm.
like thinking like, all right, this is getting overrated. No way it could be this good. But I was like, okay, no, it's that good. Like the the fight, like the aerial dog fights, the cinematography, like you already talked about that, but also just the acting between Tom Cruise and I cannot remember his name, but Goose's son, the
Oh,
actor that
Miles
plays
Teller.
that.
Yeah.
Myers, thank you, Miles Teller. I think he's also like a really big standout for me. And yeah, it's just I def it it almost blows like the original out of the water. I definitely like it more than the original. I don't think the original is that bad. I know you said you didn't like it,
No,
but
no,
I thought
it's 280s.
Yeah, that's how I feel
yeah,
about it.
that's kind of fun. It's like a time capsule of like
It is.
what
Yeah.
movies were back then. So, but yeah, this movie is something else.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly surprised it was the technical fourth pick. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it made it down that far because I almost picked
Yeah.
it for number one, but I was like, I don't want to. I'll switch it around. I'll give it to someone else. So now
It's a
it's
mistake, Drew. It's
yeah,
it's now Big Mike. It's Mike's
yeah, it's
turn.
now back to Big Mike. Yeah.
For my second, dang, Nick, I was gonna take everything everywhere all at once. Uh, I have two on here that I know nobody else is going to take, so I'm gonna save those.
hmm
So, so I'm gonna take the Batman with my second
Yeah.
pick. This was a movie I had did not have high expectations for at all. I thought it was just going to be average, a superhero movie, and it turned out to be way better than I was ever expecting. Like Robert Pattinson as Batman. I mean, I never 5 years ago, who would have ever thought that could have been a
No.
casting? And he killed it in the role, and all the other performances, they were all really good. This was like a movie that was way better than I would have ever thought. It definitely was in a lot of people's top of the year lists. And I don't really think that many people had that many high expectations for it, really. So,
It's it's really impressive that like given what DC is right now and how many just like either mid or just bad movies that they're like turning out, it's amazing that just out of nowhere they're like, we'll just throw this Batman. It has no connection to anything, no connection to any of the other ones, but it just kind of it takes a different view on him and actually just kind of works. This I don't want to say like realistic because it's still a man in a suit, but like this kind of more grounded Batman where he like more street level, more getting back to like he's a detective. He's trying to solve a crime instead of having another movie where it's like, oh, the world's gonna end because Darkseid's here and he's shooting a big laser into the sky. It is definitely a breath of fresh air for DC.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So back to me. I'm not gonna do my number two immediately. That might be my next one, but um, I'm gonna this for me this year was kind of the year of horror movies. Like out of my like, I think I said that out of my top like 11 movies, like seven of which were horror movies this year. Um, so honestly, I might be stealing this one from Nick. I'm gonna go with Pearl. Um, the sequel, or excuse me, the prequel to X, which X also came out this year, and X was amazing. But after like kind of thinking about it, I think Pearl just hits a lot better because of just the acting and like the storytelling of that movie. It really doesn't even get like super graphic or violent until like the very last parts of that film. But it just kind of hit me in a way and like stuck with me after a while. After leaving the theater, just like how creepy and eerie that performance is, and it really is like something to stand out. So gonna go Pearl, and then yeah, because it is me, so I get one more. Different kind of different angle for. I'm gonna go with the Northman. Came out earlier this year, and probably at least in my opinion, the most like visually stunning, almost visually like pleasing movies of the year. Cinematography and just the landscape shots in that are amazing. Um, unique story. It feels very epic or grandiose how like big this story feels about a man seeking revenge. Not like the
Mhm.
most like complex or compelling narrative, but definitely some like after I watched it, it was definitely something where I'm like, this will make it on my list by the end of the year. It stands out. Um, and you see William Defoe being a crackhead on screen for a little bit without clothes. So how can it not make the list?
He was a little disturbingly strange, honestly.
Yeah,
They're-
he's
both Pearl and The Northman, though, are great choices.
yeah,
Indie films, but
yeah.
indie films with pretty significant. The Northman had a huge budget, actually lost a lot of money. They Focus Features definitely took a gamble
Yeah.
on Robert Eggers, and it
Yeah.
didn't pay off. So I don't know if we're going to see a movie like The Northman have
No,
that high of a budget anymore.
it's probably gonna that was probably the last
Hmm.
type of movie. I really enjoy it. I wish it got, a bigger reception and more people saw
Me
it,
too.
but
Me too.
it just didn't,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it was a fun
So
watch though. We watched that one together, actually.
yeah. Yeah, we did. Got all right. And
But
so
yeah,
back, back to
back
Mike.
to Michael
Okay.
Stamper.
Um, I'm gonna take. I'm just gonna go ahead and use one of those picks that I know nobody else is gonna take.
I'm
So
not
I'm
going to
gonna.
say Bill.
No, I'm not gonna say Bell yet. Um, I'm gonna say Decision to Leave, which I watched last night because I knew this was today. I had to get it in. This is a Korean movie. It has Song Kang-ho in it, who is the dad in Parasite, the main family's dad, not the rich family.
Hmm.
This is a really good movie. I had high expectations for this one though, because you guys know I'm a sucker for Asian movies, like Korean movies especially.
Yeah.
So this was really good. It can be it's kind of a slow drag. Sometimes it can be a little boring, but it's really good. And I mean, I think it's worth a watch, even though it really didn't get that much hype, I guess, from the American
Yeah.
side. But it'll probably be dominated for an Oscar for Best International Feature, I would
Mhm.
assume. So,
Where did you watch this? Like, how did you come across this? Is
on
it on a streaming
Don't
page or
say
friend?
it.
No.
Mubi, Mubi, it's like a streaming app for movies, but it gets more like indie releases, I guess.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Might have to check that out. All right. Nick, back to you.
Back to me. Well, I'm going to go with this year's best biopic. You have so many
Hmm.
biopics every year. I'm kind of getting tired of them,
Yeah.
but this one might be my favorite one ever. That's Elvis, by Baz Luhrmann. Austin Butler was terrific. Stole the show and then some,
Hmm.
with his portrayal of Elvis Presley. Tom Hanks was awkward in it, and that
Yeah.
kind of hurt the movie, but he was what he needed to be to portray the snowman, which was Elvis's
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
evil agent. But anyway, the music was terrific. The direction was
Hmm.
bold and crazy, but it was all in the right ways. Um, I really liked. I think they did it perfectly. Honestly, I think it was Elvis, and it was my favorite movie of the year. I go back and forth on this one and how much I really liked it. But I guess this is the
Hmm.
decision day, so this is where I'm going to put it. It's what
Yeah.
number 3 on my list for the year.
Yeah. It's
Adding
definitely
out all these other movies taken.
yeah. Excuse me. It's definitely a movie where I'm like, and I think because I didn't see it in theaters, I saw it after the fact. But I watched it and I was like, it's good. It's okay. I was always like really surprised when like you told me it was so high on your list. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
maybe I need to go back and like rewatch it. Like maybe I missed something, but
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it was a bad movie, but I was just really surprised of like how much like
Mhm.
how high you put it up and how much you rated this. So
I've seen it,
where to watch?
I think 4 times now, and I gotten a little higher every time I watched it.
Okay.
Not because you miss things, but just because I don't know, it's kind of a weird circumstance, but I really really
Hmm.
like this movie. Um, and honestly, I think this next pick, because I am on the board again, I think I
Yeah.
might like this more than Elvis, but for whatever reason, since you get these back to back picks, you don't have to go in order. This one
Yeah.
won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. It's probably not seen by many people who would be listening to this. It's called Triangle of Sadness. It is just the you talked about the menu with classism. This is classism it, on cocaine. It is Woody Harrelson in one of his best performances, and he's only got about 10 minutes of screen time. Um,
Damn.
so many great performances in this movie, but ultimately, it's the writing and just the off the walls second act that propel this to my
Hmm.
list. It, it's hilarious. It is really thought provoking, and it's also like kind of terrifying at the same time. So Triangle Sadness for me, if you haven't seen it, I would watch it, and however you can. I don't know where you could watch it.
Yeah.
Don't recommend illegally streaming things, but if that's the path that you choose, then so be it. I'm not going to stop you. But yeah, this is a really, really strong movie that took me off, kind of off guard when I went to go see this in the theater.
This is the reason I like doing this with you guys, like talking about because I would never have heard of this movie before. Like if I didn't like talk to you guys or find, like I don't know how you guys find out about these, but most of the time these are such like sleeper and such good movies. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited to check that out.
No, it's
All
fun. It's a little long. The third act, I
right.
don't think lives up to the second one, nor does the first. The first is little slow, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have pacing issues at all to me.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, back to back to that.
Back to Mike, I guess.
All
Yeah,
right.
back to Mike. Yeah.
Was this number four for me? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is your fourth pick. I'm
Yeah.
keeping a list on the side here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pull the trigger now. I'm gonna take Bell, which was my number two for almost the entire year until I saw The Fabelmans, which passed both it and Top Gun to become number one.
Yeah.
This was a movie that I also thought was, I mean, it's like, oh, it's another anime movie. I guess I'll go see it. And then my kind of hype kind of built up for it. And then I actually saw it with Nick, and I thought it was going to be pretty solid. And then, like, I was pretty wowed when I came out of the theater. But I mean, I am kind of biased towards these type of movies, but I thought it was really good. It's animated, so you can't really say has great performances. I mean, it's vocal performances, but the music is good. The visuals are awesome. I think it'll might be nominated for best animated feature. I'm not sure. Um, but no, I thought this was really good, and it's definitely in my top three for the year.
Nice.
This was this was one that like you guys told me about and told me that like, hey, you should check this out. It's nice. And then I just forgot and I didn't. So that is my fault. But I definitely should, especially since it's stayed so high on your list since we saw it. Because this was much earlier in the year when this came
This
out.
was the first movie we watched this in 2022,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so pretty far
So
down.
yeah. So that's really impressive that it's like stayed this high up.
yeah.
Um. Okay, back to me. And for me, keeping with my horror movie theme, I'm going to go with a movie that should have came out in theaters, incredibly underrated, and that's Prey, which is the like almost hyper prequel to the Predator, or Predator. And Prey is I honestly probably like it more than the original Predator. It's super engaging. It is about like this pre not prehistoric, but like almost proto predator against Native Americans. And I love its depictions of Native Americans. I love that majority of the cast, not only like the actual cast in the movie, but even like the extra like film crew and camera. A lot of them have Native American like ancestors or heritage in them. um, so it's cool in that part, but also just like incredibly well acted. A lot of like not not super well known actors in this, but it was super engaging. I loved it. I loved the whole like this super advanced like alien. You have to like figure out very creative ways because you're in, pre technology times, and it's a movie that I think more people should watch, and I really wish it got a theatrical release, but unfortunately, it was only released on Hulu, so you had to watch it with ads. But even despite that, it still stuck out to me, and I'm glad I did give it a shot. And other than that, I think I'm also gonna go with because that's my fourth. So what would have been my fifth? Or what is my fifth? Kind of had to play around with this one, but I saw this recently, and I think I'm gonna have to go with Glass Onion, which is the sequel to Knives Out. While I don't think it's as strong as Knives Out, I think Glass Onion still stands out. I think Ryan Johnson does a great job with these like mystery, suspenseful type movies. It still, intrigued me. It still goes in directions that I wouldn't expect a movie like this to go in. And well, the thing with Knives Out captured my attention almost immediately, and I was intrigued. With Glass Onion, it takes a little bit longer. It was about like an hour in, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm seeing the I'm seeing the twist. I'm finding the mystery. I'm invested. Um, I still think it's like a very good movie. A lot opposite of Prey. A lot of big name actors. Uh, Daniel Craig's still amazing. He's the only returning one. Edward Norton was funny to me as like this basically not Elon Musk like rich businessman. Um, so I definitely recommend that. I wish it was. That's another one. I wish it was just in theaters longer, other than just a week, because I wasn't able to go that first week. So I had to watch it on Netflix after. But both these movies, even though I had to watch on streaming services, they still stuck out to me. So, all right, Mike. Hope you have another pick ready because we're back to
I
you.
do. And this one is kind of a surprise. I know Nick does not have this one nearly of as high as I do on his list, but I'm going to take 13 Lives, which ironically stayed in my top 10. I couldn't believe it. I was not expecting this movie to be very good. It's about the cave rescue of the soccer team that got trapped in that cave like 3 or 4 years ago in Southeast Asia. Sorry, I'm blanking on where the country it was in. I don't know why.
Thailand, right?
Yeah, Thailand. Yeah. It has Colin Farrell. He does a really good job in this. There's a couple other big name actors. I think these movies can definitely be overdone, but I thought this one was a little special in that kind of category. So yeah, it definitely was not even on my radar at the beginning of the year. I didn't even know it was coming out, and then I just saw it one day on Prime, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch this," and I thought it was really good. So
Well, good choice.
Okay.
Good choice. I like it.
Nice.
It's a good movie.
All right.
Is it my turn?
yes,
It's back
Oh
to
wow,
you. It is back to
that
you.
went fast.
Yeah. Let's say that happens when there's only like three of us.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm not really sure where I want to go. A lot of these movies are.
Yeah.
I have a whole pack of like six movies to choose from. I get to do two here. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna decline to do Nope as much as I liked it, and say Marcel the Shell with Shoes on, which was just a cute, personal, like a heartfelt movie that just made me happy. And don't have a lot of that, especially at the top of my list. You know, you go down top to bottom, you see like the Batman and Elvis and Triangle of Sadness, the Menu, all these movies that aren't hard. You know,
Yeah.
you don't get a lot of that anymore in the theaters, and if you do, it's going to be in the sense of like A Man Called Otto, and it's going to be cheesy and super like unoriginal. But this one was about as original as you get. It took about 12 years to shoot. It's in stop motion. It's about a shell named Marcel whose parents and his family have disappeared from the Airbnb to which he resides in. And this YouTuber comes in and stays, who is actually the director of the film. And by making YouTube videos, is able to get on 60 Minutes and become very popular. So it's a good movie. Not everyone's gonna like this one. Judging by Mike's reaction, I guess not too high on the film.
no, it's in my top 10.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
It's on the outside of my 11. Look, all nine, my first nine movies have been named, which is awesome. So Marcel the Shell
Yeah.
will go on as my, what is this? My fifth now? My
This
fifth
is your
selection.
one, two. Yeah, that's your fifth. Yes.
Wow, that feels really weird that that's
Yeah.
my fifth movie of the year. But
Yeah.
there it is, Marcel the Shell with shoes on. Feels
Hey,
even wrong now that I've chosen it. But that's number five for me. So my next pick will be my sixth. I'm just gonna
yes.
do it and say nope.
Hmm.
Um, it's about finding the impossible shot. It's kind of a little bit about greed, and
Yeah.
it's a movie where you could watch this seven times and you have no idea what Jordan Peele was trying to say. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like a lot of people have used that as its downfall or as its criticism. But to me, that's a really cool part of the movie because it could mean a lot of things. I think it
Yeah.
turns in some really good performances. I think the music in it is spectacular. One of the best scores of the year. Um, and for me, Jaws being one of my favorite films, uh, this was a really cool ode to the Jaws type of movie that doesn't really work anymore because they've gone too grand with movies like, The Meg. I think one
Yeah.
of the recent movies that did it well was actually Crawl in 2019, which was a
Mhm.
surprisingly good movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
That was
really
the
like
alligator.
this.
That was the
It was the
alligator, right?
alligator.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
With Barry Peppers, yeah. But this
Yeah,
movie,
I remember that.
people are so mad because they can't really tell what the message is. Well, what's the
Hmm.
message in Jaws? Is there one? No, it's
Yeah.
about a big shark. This can be about a big alien too, if you want, if it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
But I love it. Um, it's gone down for me. I actually started with a 95, but it's gone down actually all the way to an 89. Just kind of have thought I hyped a couple movies in the summer on my reviews, but yeah, this is a good movie. I'd recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's on Peacock. It's not my favorite movie,
Yeah.
but it's certainly one that is worth watching because I think every movie by Jordan Peele is worth watching, and this one I think is
Yeah.
about his second best film so far.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you because, well, it's not Get Out. I think it's very unique compared to most other horror movies. I was about to pick it before I picked Glass Onion, but I looked at my list
Mm,
and I was like, my list would have just been horror movies. So I was like,
yeah.
let's have a little bit of diversity. Um, but no, I also really like Dope. I kind of like the fact that like the message can be whatever. I more took away that it's like you can't really, don't tame a predator if you don't know what you're doing. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it definitely it's definitely stood out and it got people talking. And it gets more people to watch horror movies because it's a genre that gets very like heavily critiqued, even though like there's some really smart and clever ones, and this is a very smart
Mm-hmm.
and clever movie. So,
Absolutely.
all right, Mike, for your number six pick.
Okay, we are out of my top 10 because everything that's actually we're out of my top 11 because everything that's in that
Yeah,
has
me
been
too.
picked so far.
Okay,
So I'm gonna just go with my number 12, which is another one that I don't think anybody else was gonna pick. The worst person in the world,
Man,
which sorry,
I
someone would have picked that
no,
one.
I was gonna pick that next. Yeah, well done.
um yeah, this is a Danish movie, and it's another one that I didn't really think that was gonna be that high on my list, but I really like foreign films, and I was like, I'm gonna give this one a chance, and it's good. It's another one that kind of is a little convoluted with its message and everything, but the narrative it puts is good. It's very kind of unique. I think Nick, you can verify this because it's like you've seen it too, but like the
Mhm.
storytelling is pretty something like kind of like something we don't see that often in movies.
No, no, at all. Yeah, you're totally right. A movie that kind of makes you happy, but also really makes you deeply sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was
Mhm.
definitely it's gone down on my list because I've seen so much since then. But
Mhm.
it's really good and it's definitely worth a watch. It's technically 2021, but it didn't come out in America
Mhm.
until 22, so I put
Yeah,
it into this.
We'll
So
count
yeah,
it.
that's how I did it as well. America, I'm
Yeah,
going on U.S. release for sure.
yeah.
Um,
because no, that makes sense. I'll give it to you. All right. Um, so for me, these are my last two picks. Um, And honestly, I might as well just keep the theme, um, because I'm looking at the list. I'm like, I'd be
Choose it.
ashamed if I didn't. I'm just gonna go with
Do it,
X.
Drew.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
I'm gonna go with X. The other one to Pearl, the horror movie that is based out or is a horror movie about kids filming a porno, is one of the smartest horror movies that has come out this year. X is it took me by such surprise that this was good because you hear the premise and you think that, oh, this is just going to be some raunchy whatever, like an excuse for boobs and gore and bloodshed, but it wasn't. It actually was a really smart like character dive and like a statement about like what happens when we get older. Do we still have meaning? And did something very unique in horror movies, which is make like majority of your cast likable people. Despite them in a very raunchy business, you like all the cast before like they're brutally murdered, and so you feel bad and you want them to escape. But in these type of movies, they don't. I definitely like Pearl better. I think Pearl is more of a character focused movie than X. But I think X still deserves a spot and deserves to be up there. And
Go ahead
along with
and
that,
go ahead, Drew.
yeah. Oh no, I was just saying that just gonna keep the theme of keep picking horror movies because this was at least for me, 22 was like one of the best years for horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I almost picked Black Phone, but I'm not picking Black Phone because too many people told me to watch this movie called The Barbarian, and I watched it and it blew my mind. Um, and I'm so glad I went into The Barbarian completely blind, um, because about halfway through the movie, you something happens, and I can't say what, but it just goes for a complete loop. And if you're into horror movies and you haven't seen it yet, don't look anything up. Don't look up who like the cast or anything. I might be showing like a trailer like over this thing, but don't pay attention to it. Check out The Barbarian and do yourself a favor. Go in as blind as you possibly can. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of
I went
my
into
list.
I went into Barbarian totally blind too, and I was texting Nick while I was watching the movie, and I was totally taken for like surprise how it went. I
Yeah,
was not expecting it at all.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think
it's
I
yeah,
like
no,
Barbarian more
yeah.
than X, but since I had two picks, it didn't matter which order I went. But yeah, go
Mhm.
ahead.
Hey, by the way, Drew, I'm sure you know, but we
Yeah,
will get the third movie in the X trilogy in Maxine later this year. So
yeah.
um, it is a
Is that a?
sequel to X, and I'm excited. But yeah,
It's a,
Barbarian, good
yeah.
choice too.
It's insane that all three of them have come out so close together. I mean, I'm pretty sure they
Mhm.
started Pearl right after filming X, but the fact that
Yes.
they were so confident on this movie of just like this is getting two sequels, we're just gonna do both.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I like that. I like this director. I like the way he tells stories and the way he does horror. So I'm very excited for Maxine.
Sorry,
All right,
someone's
but yeah, but
screaming in my hotel.
that
I'm sure you can hear it.
yeah, that's all my seven, and add up. That's one, two, three, four, five of my seven are horror movies. So
Wow, Drew.
it's I like my horror movies. All right, Mike, your last pick. Your number seven.
I'm very torn here because I have two or three that I really want to pick. Um,
Mm.
you
Shouldn't have
know,
blown a pick on Bell.
what, Nick?
I said you shouldn't have blown a pick on Bell, man.
No. Um, I think I'm gonna take a horror movie for one this is the first horror movie that I've picked. Smile, which was a
Oh,
movie that it's not super high I mean it's 15 on my list for the year, but this I don't particularly get I don't particularly get scared by horror movies. Um Very few really get me, but this one really creeped me out, and it was much better than I was expecting it to be. I like the premise. It's actually kind of spawns off a short film which is by the same director, and it's really good. It genuinely creepy in some moments, and it's another one that kind of you're like, where's this going? Like as far as the premise
Mm,
goes, but it's definitely solid and much better than I was
mm,
expecting it to be.
Yeah,
So
interesting. Surprise
good
pick. I'm
choice.
not gonna lie. Yeah. All
Oh
right.
man, so
So
I've got a
Nick,
lot
you
of
have you
good
got a lot,
ones to choose from.
and these are your last
Ah,
two. Yeah.
have I only done five?
You're at wait, one, two, three.
I believe I'm
Oh,
at my
I'm sorry.
last
Right,
pick.
you're on
Yeah.
your.
yeah,
You only have. I
Ah,
forgot. Yeah, because
how
yeah, you
about
get
that? Excited.
one. Yeah.
Well,
I forget. Yeah,
shout out
because
to
you would have had two picks. Yeah, go ahead.
some honorable mentions: White Noise, Bones and All. Uh,
Ooh, Bones and All is a. Yeah.
those are good. Armageddon Time. But I'm gonna
Hmm.
go with a movie that has kind of become getting steam for Best Picture. The Banshees of Inisherin. Um, it's just it's got two or more than two. It's got really four incredible performances, and that's why the movie's carried. It's got incredibly dark but hilariously witty humor.
hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
it you get done and you're like, what did I even just watch? It's really about nothing. Um,
Sound
it's
like
just
somebody else
about a
on music.
it's about science, yeah, like Seinfeld, yeah. But in all of the right ways. I
Hmm.
like this movie. It makes you sad, but it's a funny, good movie. And like I said, the performances in it are terrific. I don't really know much to say about this one because it is sort of a WTF kind of movie. But I think that it's very solid, and it's a movie that not everyone's gonna like. I know Mike's mom hated it.
Yeah.
Um, that's gonna happen. Not everyone's going to like it. It's got a 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which is a little bit of a divisive score, but that's actually a pretty high score as well. Um, but I'd recommend it for sure. So and it's on HBO Max.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I have to check it out. Well, that is everyone's picks. I do want to, since Nick gave some honorable
Yeah.
mentions, I do want to say I also was considering picking The Black Phone, another horror movie. We didn't talk too much about superhero movies other than the Batman, but I'll shout out Black Panther. I I don't think it's as good as the original, but it kind of had an impossible task to take, uh, given the real life circumstances around it. So I think it did the best it
Mhm.
could. And the only other one I'll bring up is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. One of I've freaking had that movie is so funny to me. But I'm also a person I love Nicolas Cage jokes. I think he's hilarious. I can't wait to see Renfield later this year. Uh, I don't think it's like it shouldn't have been a pick, but wanted to shout out. Mike, were there any kind of
Yeah.
honorable mentions? Yeah,
Yeah,
good
I was gonna
feeling.
give a couple. One I was gonna give one was Hustle, which is an Adam Sandler basketball movie,
Uh-huh.
which I know it was kind of divisive whether people really liked it or not. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was really, really good. I have the very hot take that it's better than Uncut Gems. I'm sorry, Nick.
Which I
Uh,
just think is wild.
That's a
It's
that
like
is a take and a half. Dang.
well, it's I really enjoyed it, and it definitely was much better than I was expecting. Especially because sports movies can be really hit or miss.
Yeah.
Um, Another one is Emergency, which
it's a
is
good movie.
yeah, which I wanted to see it since I saw the trailers, and then I finally watched it about 2 weeks ago. It was really good. And for one more, really underrated Pixar movie, which a lot of people did not like, Turning Red, which I thought was actually kind of underrated.
Hmm.
Okay,
Interesting.
I expect that too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. I
Drew,
respect
before
it.
we go,
Yeah.
uh, what are you thinking 2023 is going to bring you? Which movie are you like, okay, this is going to be the top of my list next
Oh
year?
shoot. I'm trying to
And I know you're
dang.
not prepared for that.
I'm not preparing
Um,
the spot. Nick, I'm the
and so
host. I'm the one that's supposed to ask people unprepared questions.
I got you. Well,
No,
we can
you
go to
got
Mike
me.
first.
No, I'll think of one. I'll think of one. Well, I'll go with the one that'll probably be the first movie I will see in 2023 because it's the first one I can think of. And that's the next it's Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
Um I said that right that time, right?
You said it right. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it right. Uh it will be it'll be very interesting. It's another Christopher Nolan movie and I'm very again going into this one pretty blind, and I think that's kind of like how he intends you to go into movies. Um, so I don't know. It's intriguing. I'm interested by it. More just because of the director. I know that he can do movies well, whatever like the premise is. So I'm not. I'm excited just because it's Christopher Nolan, and I have a feeling he'll bring us some things.
Yeah,
Um,
for
all
sure.
right. You might have to
Well,
come back. You might have to come back to me later. But
okay.
go to Mike for now. Yeah.
I have two 2023s that I'm really excited for. I'm not going to give my number one most excited yet, but
Number
my other one is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Uh,
I've waited a really long time for this. I've said it 100 times. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is the greatest movie ever made, and I'm really, really excited for this. I think it's gonna right the wrongs of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I hope. Um, I think this is gonna be really good. It looks awesome from the trailers,
Mike,
and
Crystal Soul doesn't exist. Indiana Jones fan,
yeah,
we don't recognize that as a movie. That movie's not real. That was a fever
yeah.
dream that we all collectively shared.
And my most anticipated movie of the year is Suzume, which is directed by Makoto Shinkai, who directed my favorite movie ever, Your Name. This is already out in Japan, but it comes out in America in April, and I'll be there the day it comes out.
Okay.
hey, I probably will too, just in
Yeah,
honor of you. My
I appreciate
to
it.
other movies to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
We got a movie from Martin Scorsese coming out this year, Killers of the Flower Moon, Asteroid City by
Mm-hmm.
Wes Anderson. Um, got a new Ridley Scott film. Ridley Scott is one of the best directors
Ooh.
ever as well. It's a Napoleon biopic starring no other than Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon Bonaparte. So that's going to be a movie to
Mm-hmm.
watch. Um, some other movies, The Killer by David Fincher is going to be a blast. So make sure to watch that one. And then, like
Mm-hmm.
Drew said, Oppenheimer. Ari Aster's third film is follow up to Midsommar and Hereditary. Beau is Afraid, also Joaquin Phoenix. That's a good one. And I'll close out my list. The Color Purple musical is going to be pretty epic.
All
But
right.
that's for me.
I got two more before I wrap up. Very different ones. I don't think this will be. Look, I think this might be the best movie that'll come out next year, and that's freaking Cocaine Bear. I almost forgot about Cocaine Bear. The based on a real story of a bear eating, accidentally getting into cocaine. Looks so funny. It's coming out
Mm-hmm.
in February. It looks so dumb and ridiculous that I have to mention it. And the last one I'll say, because I'll also mention Scream or Creed 3. The sequel to the Rocky spinoff, always good. But the last one I want to mention is Scream 6. Now set in New York, which seems to be more of a subway. And the Scream series is one of those series where it's like it should be terrible. It should be awful, like the Friday the 13th or the Halloweens. But for some reason, it's actually kept its momentum and actually like kept being interesting. Um, and Yeah, and it's also, now Jenna Ortega's in it. So if you didn't get enough
Mm-hmm.
of her from Wednesday, she's back in it. So yeah, definitely excited for Scream 6. Probably my most anticipated horror movie for next year. But that is about everything, unless Nick wants to blindside me with another question.
Oh, I could blindside with a million questions,
I
but
know
I'm
you
not going
can.
to.
You're good with that.
We're going to be back
Yeah,
next year, though, Drew. This is going to be a big year for movies. So buckle up,
Yeah,
man.
for
yeah,
sure.
we'll definitely be. There's some very big names coming out. But yeah, I'm impressed with our current list. Now that like I'm looking back on it, honestly, if we're just going off like box office sales, Nick actually definitely won because he has both Top Gun, Elvis, and everything. and
Mm.
Nope. So he probably won like best box office.
I won the
My
movie, the money.
yeah, if we're just going off box office, but at least for like this is a weird cat, but like unique picks or at least films that I haven't either seen or heard of definitely goes to Mike. Mike has a lot of either indie movies or just movies I need to see. And then as I kept saying earlier, I just went with horror movies. It's literally just horror movies and The Northman and Glass Onion. So not as I didn't diversify as much as everyone else. But that said, that is everything for 2022. As before we move on to the next year movies, I want to thank both of you guys for taking the taking the afternoon talking to me about some movies. I appreciate it. Mike, hope you have a nice day. I want to thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.
Nick, thank you for taking the time and talking about some movies with us.
Heck, it's my only favorite thing.
And thank everyone for listening in on this. Hope you have a nice day and stay safe out there.